order, pledge of the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Persing?
Here.
Snyder?
Here.
Martello?
Here.
Troop? Meister?
Here. Well, we'll do the approval. We'll do this first. Let's do the audience comments. Is there any comments on anything that's on the agenda? Anybody want to comment on anything that's on the agenda specifically?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that the proposed Second Amendment resolution is a great idea. The Borough of Gilberton's passed it, Susquehanna County's passed it, East Coventry Township has passed it, as well as nearly 500 sheriffs and the various police chiefs have already signed pretty much a similar resolution, and I signed it as constable, and I think it's I just wanted to say I thought that the council should consider it and sign it as well.
Thank you. I need approval of the minutes of something else that we have. We don't. Okay. Everybody has a copy. Everything is highlighted. That's the minutes that we have. So I need a motion to accept those minutes and report.
I couldn't read any of it because you have my computer. It's the only one that has the Word program that opens up those files, so I didn't get a chance to read any of the reports, so.
Okay, so you don't want to vote on it?
No.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept.
I'll second that.
Snyder?
Yes.
Martello?
No.
Meister?
Yes.
Persing?
Yes. Bill, before we go to you, let's get SRI. Megan?
Yeah. First, I'd like to introduce our new employee, Zach Stoddard. He's our development and volunteer coordinator. So he'll be in the office if anybody calls in to speak to us.
Wave your hand or something, Zach.
And I also want, and that was because we started with an announcement that SRI partnered with the Susquehanna River Cleanup Project, which was actually founded by Zach. So we're really excited about how well that turned out in Sunbury. The event drew over 100 volunteers and collected 2,200 pounds of garbage and a half ton of scrap metal. So it was a really good project. We're also beginning to offer group advertising for downtown businesses or member businesses in SRI in a daily item, and we're making sure we're staying in contact with those business members. We would like to announce the first annual Wake the Lake, and our slogan for the Wake the Lake is "Summer starts in Sunbury." And so please, if anybody's able to, please attend and spread the word that on May 25th, from 12 noon till 9 p.m., there will be entertainment at the riverfront, and it will start at 12 noon with the blessing of the boat. So there will be a chaplain, and we'll be organizing boats traveling around the lake and across the front of the amphitheater so that everybody gets a chance to see everybody's boats at the beginning of the summer here. Entertainment will be Frank Booker Band, Blind Chitlin Kahunas, and Jesse. The Spark Committee is currently in the process of applying for monies through DCED for the Neighborhood Assistance Program, and they are making progress in continuing on that project. The Hometown Veterans banners were successfully installed. We want to say thank you to the city for putting those up for us. There are currently 74 banners on Market Street. We have a few additional people who would like in. If there is anyone who would like to add banners, we may do an order if we get a minimum number, so please call in. We are also continuing to work on a T-Biz program, a pilot program for involving teenagers in business in the city. And we also received approval for a rain barrel grant on the Elm Street neighborhood, and we're hoping to partner with the storm water drainage program of the city. So, does anybody have any questions for me about any of those projects?
about the bricks in the park. I bought one last year in my mother's name, and I was wondering when they will be installed.
Yes, those, there was a dramatic increase in pricing. We are redoing a new flyer for this year. Yours, of course, will be at the price that it was, but we're doing an announcement here in the next month or so. And I'll probably will reopen that up. We have to have a minimum of 25 to do the project, and we only have about 5 right now. So, but I think once we announce it, we'll be able to fill in the rest of
When
those.
is the
So,
price? When is the price?
can we announce that? $100 for this year. It had been 50 in years previous, but due to the additional costs, unfortunately, we can't even do it for $50. There's just no way.
I did want to just announce that with SRI being up here, that everybody, I'm sure whoever's in here for the Eagles, but the pool tournament was a huge success, and maybe Jim will talk about that later on. But at the pool tournament, the Eagles did give SRI a check for $15,000, you know, for that organization to keep moving forward. And I want to publicly thank them, and anybody sitting here that's an Eagles member that supported that. I appreciate it very much. Mr. Siegel, CDBG.
Thank you. Good evening. Before I start the public hearing this evening for the budget modification, I would just share, it's nice to be here. Jamie Schroeder on my staff normally attends these meetings. It's nice to be welcomed by some of the citizens that I've gotten to know over the years, as well as the board. And just to say that there's an air of optimism in this room that is refreshing to me. It's great to see the successes that you've had. I've watched you do those over the last several years with Jamie's assistance. And there's just an air of optimism, not having been here for a while and seeing that in the group. And I just applaud the council and the citizens for their engagement. All of that aside, I'll start to circulate this if you would be willing to sign in, please. This evening is a public hearing that the Sunbury City Council has asked CEDACOG to lead. It's related to the Federal Community Development Block Grant Funds. And the reason for the hearing is each year the City of Sunbury receives an annual allocation from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development that comes through Pennsylvania's Department of Community and Economic Development to identify and fund projects in and around the city. As they put their projects together and as they develop concepts for projects, some of those move forward, some of those don't move forward for various reasons related to the regulations. This evening, what the council is doing is they're actually revising the allocation of funds that were made previously in 2 federal fiscal years, federal fiscal year 11 and federal fiscal year 12, as well as reallocating some program income funds that have been received by the city. Program income are those funds that are generated because of an expenditure of community development block grant funds. So this evening, I just want to report to the public what the City Council is proposing. Would ask for any public comment on the proposed changes, and then would ask Council ultimately to take action to approve those changes. For federal fiscal year 2011, we are proposing to reduce the facade improvement program, which was a grant program for downtown merchants, and we're reducing that by total amount about $48,000 at the earmark. And the reason for that is that the guidelines that the Department of Community and Economic Development have provided to the city really make the project virtually impossible to deliver. And although it is an eligible activity, the restrictions and the guidelines that are imposed by the Commonwealth really make it almost impossible for the city to deliver that project activity. The city is also proposing to reduce by about $9,600 the amount of money set aside for its administrative services associated with the Community Development Block Grant Program. They are also proposing to reduce the riverfront revitalization activities, which are some of the funds that were used for the riverfront project. As that project has wrapped up and it has been completed, there's a small balance of about $1,600 remaining that they're going to reallocate. And the funds that are being rebudgeted from the facade improvement, the city admin, as well as the riverfront revitalization, total $59,222.27, and they're proposing moving all of those funds into the Chestnut Street reconstruction project, which is a citywide project serving Chestnut Street from Front to 10th and providing low and moderate income benefit because it serves the entire city. With respect to federal fiscal year 2012, they're making some similar modifications. All of these funds are being also moved to the Chestnut Street reconstruction project. They're taking $30,000 from land acquisition that had been considered for recreation property purchases that is not moving forward, and reallocating that. Another $54,000 that had been earmarked for the facade improvement program I spoke about previously. And then finally, $32,000 which were earmarked for economic development activities to make loans or grants to small private businesses. Again, the regulations are such that the city has determined they really can't implement that project as a That totals about $117,200, which will also be moved into the Chestnut Street reconstruction project. So the Chestnut Street reconstruction project will actually receive an allocation of approximately $178,000 between those 2 years. Finally, and last but not least, federal fiscal year 2012, the city has earned a small amount of program income, and they're allocating $2,339 of the program income to demolition projects. I'm sorry, these are funds that have been recaptured. They've earned $2,339 there. Chestnut Street reconstruction, they're allocating $5,458, and admin, they're allocating $300. And so those are the changes that are proposed by the city of Sunbury in those 2 fiscal years. And at this point, with the permission of the mayor, I would open it for any questions or comments from the public. The total for the Chestnut Street project?
Yes.
Would be from federal fiscal year 2011, $59,227.27. From federal fiscal year 2012, $117,200. And from program income, $5,458.06. Looks like about 183, mental math, about 183 total.
What percentage of the project is that? How much is the total project going to be? Any ideas?
Jamie would be better able to answer that, but I believe that the idea is that we will be very close to the total construction project. I do believe that there's consideration for 2013 allocation of that project as well.
Is that what it is? It's just going to be paving?
It's reconstruction of the streets, which includes paving, storm drainage, and other improvements along the street in that section. CDBG funds cannot be used exclusively for paving. That's viewed as just a maintenance activity, so actually reconstruction. Any other questions from the public or from council? Hearing none, I would recommend council close the public hearing at this point, and then I would ask you to take formal action to submit the budget modification to the Department of Community and Economic Development.
All right, CDBG part of the meeting is now closed. We're back to the regular meeting, and I need a motion to accept the proposals that Bill has presented to us.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Sorry.
Ister,
Yes.
Martello,
No.
Snyder,
Yes.
Persing.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Just remind me, the next meeting is June 10th, was it, on my mind? Okay,
I think so.
we'll let everybody know about it. Redevelopment Authority update, nothing different from the last meeting that I'm aware of, and just we're meeting the, we do have somebody that's actually working with us on a property up on Packer Street, trying to get that up. The judge gave him a certain amount of time, so it looks like, and that's our goal, is to get people to work with us. So it looks like we might be able to salvage a property, at least he's working on it. I'm not sure how far he has to go, what else he has to do. But the property up on Packer, I'm not sure what that address is. What is it? 313 Packer Street. So that's working along. Any questions on the redevelopment authority? I do want to mention, it's not on the agenda now, but I do want to mention, I don't know if we got that, we just released that today, right, Chief, the press release. So probably people aren't aware of it, but we have some sad news in the city of Sunbury, and that is that we lost our drug dog. Natural causes, we did an autopsy, it's one of those things that happens, and on Friday night, we lost our drug dog. So we will evaluate where we're at money-wise and see what we can do, and like I said, we had an autopsy done, there was nothing, just something about his stomach, and he's just, in a couple hours' time, he just passed away. So it's one of those things you can't explain, and it's unfortunate because we just spent 4 or 5 months getting Officer Hawes up to date on that, getting him certified, we were ready to go with things, and it just wasn't meant to be for whatever reason it may be. So we'll be talking about that in the near future, what we're going to do with that program and how we're going to go along. That's, if you remember correctly, that dog was 2 or 3, right? Yeah, and that was the donation we got from the county, so it worked perfect because our dog has been retired, so that worked out perfect. So anyway, just want everybody to know, I'm sure you read about that in the news media tomorrow, and there's just no reason for it, but it's one of those things that happen. Unfinished business, munitions to be destroyed. We were looking at that, but the chief asked that we put that on hold since we can't get rid of everything right now, so that we're just going to put that on hold hopefully for the next meeting, have it all together so we can present it. There's no sense getting rid of part of it now and part of it some other time, so we'll leave that on there for next time, chief. Our part-time officer, Joe?
Yeah, I forwarded a letter from the OBR to Terry, and she was, I assume she forwarded all of you to read it, the extra information from the Social Security office. And I'd like to make a motion that we become a vendor of the OBR and then hire James Bickle at $10 an hour. I have the money in my budget. I need the help in my office. And I'd like to make a motion that we become a vendor of the OBR and to get the reimbursement, make my money go a little further, and also get me the help I need in the office by hiring James Bickle at $10 an hour.
Did Mike review that after the last time? Did you ever look?
From what I read in the letter that was sent from that office, looks like there's a couple steps. One is we do have to become a vendor, or at least we have to submit first an application to become a vendor. Once you submit the application, and if you're approved and accepted in the program, at that point in time, you can actually negotiate a contract for anyone, per se, to work, just like they're working with this person. It is a 50% reimbursement only, it's not 100%. So just to be clear on that, but until we actually submit to become a vendor, we won't have an actual formal contract to review, from what I can see in the notes. So my thought would be the first step is to become a vendor, and then you actually have to review the contract and probably vote on that separately, because that's two separate items.
It probably would be 2 separate items, just to become a vendor is the first step. That's how it was on the agenda the first time it was on, but it's not on the agenda this time.
So we could vote just to submit an application.
To become a vendor.
Just to become an
See how that works
OBR,
out first.
become an OBR vendor, and, I mean, it's really all they're looking for is, from what they can say in here, they want to confirm that you're up to date in your taxes, but we're not applicable there. So just basic stuff like that. You submit a W-9 form, which is part of the typical process. But again, until we get that step out of the way, there's nothing else to even talk about, because you won't have a contract to review until you get that finalized.
And just because we put an application in, if there's something back that we don't like, we don't.
And you're
So
done.
we would need a vote tonight to apply for it and a vote to accept it?
Well, you'd have a vote to apply, then you actually have to wait until you actually get notification that you've been accepted before they'll even prepare a contract for the employee. So the first step is to just vote to apply, because we have no contract to review, you have no employment contract to review, you don't have any terms and conditions to consider.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if we apply for it, I have no problem with that, but if something comes back after we apply for it and we don't like it, then we don't have to take it just by voting tonight to apply for it.
I agree, it's worth at least applying, I don't think we can go much further than that right now, but that's at least the first step, and that's the important step.
I mean, I could just hire him and not worry about the OBR. I don't really need that. I was just trying to get some reimbursement on his wages. It wasn't a real
Well,
big
as
deal.
Todd said, then you need to make a motion to apply for it. That's up to you. You make a motion or not.
How about we make a motion just to hire him and forget about the OBR? We don't need reimbursement.
Well,
Just
just tell me
You
what you're
guys
gonna
don't
do.
want to reimburse on it. Just
No, I don't think it's that. I just, from what, the information that you send is very clear. It spells out 3 specific steps you have to follow. The first is the application. The second is notification you've been accepted. And then once you've been notified you've been accepted, then actually you can apply, and they'll provide you a contract document that spells out the terms and conditions for that work.
Why couldn't we vote on that all at once and then just, instead of waiting another month till we have another meeting, say if we're accepted, then yes, we will vote yes on hiring pending our acceptance with the contract, just so we don't have to bring it up and vote again.
I would just presume that
Normally
normally
we
we
hire
don't.
them as soon as we're accepted, instead of waiting for another meeting.
You could, but I guess you'd still have to make it contingent upon legal counsel's review of that contract. Because without us having a chance as a group, all of us, to review that contract document, you can't impose or put that in place until you've really had a chance just to review that document and make sure all the terms and conditions are
Let's
okay.
make a motion to apply for the OBR reimbursement. Let's see what comes out of
Okay.
it. Anybody want a second?
I'll second it. And just to be clear, that's to apply for the
That's all we're
program.
doing is applying for the program.
You second.
Todd, sorry.
Martello?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
Persing?
Yes.
Ister?
Second Amendment, preservation. Joe?
We all had a copy of that too to read. It's just a resolution that says that we will stand for the Second Amendment rights of the people and not follow any regulations that come down from the federal, state, or local government that's going to infringe on our Second Amendment rights.
I don't remember, you sent us this week? We just got it this week?
It was actually
No,
sent.
it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's strange. I got it while I was on vacation, actually. It was received Wednesday, the 24th of April.
It was after the last meeting.
Terry sent it, I'm sorry, I guess it came from Constable Quibble, and it was sent to Terry, and then all of us by email. So it's been a while that it was sent.
I just put it on my file somewhere. Go ahead.
I just
You
referenced
read
it.
it, like a paragraph, or is it pages?
No, it's essentially a page.
Just a
It's
resolution.
very brief. I mean, if you want, I can read what was written, if that helps. I mean, it's not a lot of text. City of Sunbury, resolution of 2013, Second Amendment preservation. Resolution of the City of Sunbury, which shall be known and may be cited as the Second Amendment Preservation Resolution. Whereas the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States reads as follows: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Along with Article 1, Section 21 of the Constitution of Pennsylvania, which states right to bear arms. The right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. Whereas to prevent federal, state, or local infringement on the right to keep and bear firearms, firearm accessories, or ammunition, nullifying any federal, state, or local acts in violation of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, along with Article 1, Section 21, right to bear arms of the Pennsylvania Constitution. The people of the City of Sunbury do enact as follows. The Council of the City of Sunbury within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania finds that all federal, state, or local acts, laws, orders, rules, or regulations regarding firearms, firearm accessories, or ammunition are a violation of the Second Amendment, along with Articles 1, Section 1, and 21 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and in violation of this resolution. Second, the Council of the City of Sunbury within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania recognizes that all federal, state, or local acts, laws, orders, rules, regulations, past, present, or future, in violation of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States and/or Sections 1 and 21 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth, are not authorized by the Constitution of the United States and/or the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and violate its true meaning and intent as given by the founders and ratifiers, and are hereby declared to be invalid within the City of Sunbury and all its boundaries, and shall not be recognized by this council, and are specifically rejected by the city within all of its boundaries within the Commonwealth, and shall be considered null and void and of no effect in the City of Sunbury within the Commonwealth. And then the last very brief statement is, it shall be the duty of the governing body of the City of Sunbury or the police chief to adopt or enact any and all measures as may be necessary to prevent the unconstitutional enforcement of any federal, state, or local acts, laws, orders, rules, or regulations in violation of the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Along with Article 1, Section 21, the right to keep and bear arms, and then by, attest, and date. That is it. So it's essentially about 5 paragraphs of text.
And those things they refer to, I guess that's not an issue. We talk about the,
It's just the Second Amendment of the Constitution. It's not.
It's really citing for Article 1, 21, those are specific articles and sections of the Pennsylvania Constitution that
Which
reference.
deals with the same thing as the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms.
I didn't have a chance to review the Pennsylvania Constitution in advance, but I at least reviewed this.
Excuse me,
yes, sir.
wasn't this voted on a couple months ago and the council voted to uphold the Constitution?
Well, we did, but that wasn't about guns. I'm assuming this is pretty much about the Second Amendment. That was the, what amendment was that?
The National Defense Authorization Act.
Right.
From what I've at least seen,
Dave, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to determine who, if there's violation?
Constitution.
Who's determining in this resolution that there's violation?
It's the Constitution.
I think that goes through the court, doesn't it?
It's clear that we
Does it
have
go
a
through the
right.
court? Does it go through the court? As far as I know, the court's the only one that can uphold the Constitution. I mean, you've got the solicitor sitting there, right?
Everybody who
I would
swears an
defer to
oath
him.
has to uphold the.
I would defer to him. You already took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Why would you have to do it again?
Isn't that the resolution state to implement this?
We're not taking a note, we're just saying that any laws that they passed on the federal level, we're not going to recognize.
You can't not go by federal law. You understand?
Sure you can.
Sure you can.
If they're unconstitutional,
You're on the floor.
if they're unconstitutional, they're not law.
Who determines the Constitution?
The
Who determines whether they're,
Yeah, the
who determines
founders.
whether they're legal? Who determines whether they're legal? Congress passes the
The people
law.
who upheld
The courts
Took an oath.
uphold the law.
The Constitution is the court.
You cannot violate federal law to lose money.
from what I've seen up to this point, communities around Pennsylvania have decided
Sit down, please.
decided to treat this step really solely as a sign of solidarity against any Second Amendment infringements. Really, bottom line is, it is a public relations gesture. It at the same time certainly has some merit because it shows that you're standing behind that particular component of the Constitution. But to that gentleman's point, yes, we are already upholding, and we've already agreed to uphold and defend the Constitution and our duties on council. But for the most part, what I've seen, at least with this around the state, it's been essentially just something to show solidarity and defense of it. I'm not, at this point in time, saying I'm for or against it. I just happen to be the only one with it on my computer screen to read. So I understand I'm reading it, but at the same time, I'm certainly someone who believes strongly in Second Amendment rights. So it's ultimately our decision as to whether or not we as council decide that it's an important time in our nation's history to reinforce that message or not.
And I agree with that, but I wish I would have just read it, that's all. I had it in front of me, I have to apologize, I didn't have it, but I just, well, read it and come back next month, and I have no problem voting on it. I just like to read and understand what there's too much stuff there.
It sounds like you and I were discussing earlier, they're not gonna take our guns, that's for sure.
No, I mean, from your cold dead hands,
Right.
I think we've all got those bumper stickers.
And we already uphold the Constitution, and I don't have no problem, doing this, okay? But Chief, I have a question, Chief. If the governor of the state of Pennsylvania gives you a directive to take all of our guns, and we just went through this and voted to withhold or uphold the Second Amendment, what are you gonna do, Chief?
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think you want to.
Well, I do have one thing, just real quick. There is a bill in the state house that is very similar to this, that has over 70 co-sponsors, That's our state rep. Linda Culver was a very early co-sponsor of that. It's Representative Darrell Metcalf is the one who's the original sponsor of that. It's House Bill 357. It's very similar to this, that it will actually direct the state police and the Attorney General to arrest any federal officers that are trying to enforce federal laws. Now that's even going farther than what we're trying to say here. So that goes even farther and creates even a larger conflict if they pass it, and they're very close to passing it. They have the support. It's just there's a few procedural things that they need to get through in the House, but they have the support to pass it, and the governor is a supporter as well. So we're very close to passing that sort of a thing in the Commonwealth above us. So I mean, if you guys are all on board, yes, like you said, Todd, it's very much a, to an extent, it is a symbolic gesture here in the city, but you know.
Why don't we take and pass a proposal to take and send a letter supporting 357? Wouldn't that be better yet?
That would be good as well, but I think we should also pass this resolution too.
But we already passed, what, 2 meetings ago, Joe, about upholding the Constitution? That's in the Constitution, am I correct? So well, it is, that's why we're here.
I mean, I guess what you're saying is we didn't, all we said was we were gonna say to Lou Barletta to do some things to try and get rid of that NDAA clause. That's really what we said. I mean, that's.
We all agree we're not
Yeah.
uphold the Constitution, and then the Second Amendment's in the Constitution, so we already took care of that. We're writing a letter to our politicians in Harrisburg supporting 357, sir.
No, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't mind, let's review it, bring in, and let's get a copy of 357. You can do it for us, Joe. Maybe we can tie it all together at the same time and support our legislature at the same time at the next meeting. You did say 357?
Yeah, it's House Bill 357, and that number was picked on purpose.
Yes.
Okay, new business. The police contract, we've been going back and forth on this for, well, 4 months longer than we should have been going back and forth on it. I don't know where you guys are at. We'd like to put a final proposal up. The only finances that are involved in it come down to the 3 years. It's a 3-year contract. No salary increase for the first year, 2.5% the second year, 2.5% the third year. It's arbitration time. We don't want to go to arbitration. The longevity, there's some money involved. I think your people, Todd, had put something out. It would be around $12,000 with the longevity the first year. Part of that was an estimated overtime. I had a discussion with her. I'm not sure where she come up with that. But either way.
That was based on the first quarter's utilization of your overtime budget.
Okay.
It was just rolling that out as similar numbers. Do we have a contract to actually review? Is that your plan tonight?
It's the one that you've been looking at with final revisions coming out of our last negotiating session. Could I distribute that?
Yeah.
Does it show the changes since we last looked at it?
Yes.
So we'll get some time to read this and then come back and vote on it. So we're going to do that.
Well, the concept is we want to have something to offer the police department for a final vote. Correct me if I'm wrong back here.
That was a thumbs up for the rest.
Yes.
Well, read the last one.
Yep.
Is there, recognizing how important this is, and I know we don't have any other meetings scheduled for May, correct?
Right.
The 27th is being canceled.
Right.
This is probably warranting a special meeting or whatever we need to do to give us a chance to review it, even if it's coming back in 48 hours and having had a chance to review it, ask questions, whatever time we need to have to properly advertise a meeting and get back together.
Oh, we have advertising, we can do a session for the contract.
Well, that's true.
you're going to vote, then you need to have a public session.
Right.
There's plenty of time if you want to advertise it, let's say, for next week, on a special meeting.
Because I recognize and understand the importance of it, but that way everybody has a chance, because I presume, Jim, you probably haven't read it, had a chance to do it.
No.
So if we can at least give us whatever time we need,
All right.
certainly push it.
So we're going to have an executive session somewhere in the next week or so.
Right.
And then call a special meeting to vote on.
We'll have to do it.
Not get that far.
That'd be great. That keeps it moving.
Yes.
Steve, how's that do for your schedule?
Whatever works for the city works for us.
Excellent.
Thank you, Steve.
That's a yes vote, Jim, remember.
Is there any points that you want to talk about here tonight, Dave, about anything we discussed for the sake of?
Well, that's why I brought it up. The two key things are the changes in the longevity, which we talked about 100 different times, and the actual salary itself, which, like I say, is 0 the first year, 2.5 and 2.5. So that's the financial crunch that's put into it for the city for the future. Everything else is just housekeeping things. They're the two clues, which is Article 12, longevity, and Article 11 is salary.
Can I ask you, I don't want to put the chief on the spot tonight here per se, so I don't know if he's had a chance to review it either, but at least for the executive session, for the sake of discussing any pending operational concerns or issues, would he be able to attend, or?
We covered, he's seen it, he's gone through it, because he had one concern on it already that we talked about, so I have no problem with that. He might have something
Even
else.
if you can't attend, even if it's just a quick little executive summary, some bullet points of some of the thoughts that you had in advance, so that we all can digest what your considerations are. So you ultimately have to.
You and I talked about the training, that was your concern. I'm not aware that he's aware of anymore, but he has, yeah, if anything pops up.
That'd be great.
Go through everything else, I'll correct it.
Because aside from our having to figure out how to always make sure these things are affordable into the end, day in, day out, it's your responsibility to make sure operationally it can actually be accommodated. So, any thoughts you have would be great.
Sometimes we're going to do the numbers off of this one.
Actually, this is what, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
when we did
Oh, it
the
is?
numbers off,
Oh, okay.
at least the concept of this one. is what was
Yep.
reviewed, so.
Thank you.
Mayor, if you would like any of us to be present at that executive session, if there's comments for us to answer.
Well, we'd probably save an extra meeting going back and forth, so yeah,
Probably.
I'll get a hold of you.
Just let us know, thanks.
Thank you.
So we should look for an email tomorrow or so.
Yep. Yep, we'll look at next week's schedule. Stormwater system flooding, Joe.
Yes, I've been getting a lot of complaints lately of stormwater and flooding and street flooding and also basements, like especially along the places where they did the new stormwater up on the hill. It seems that everybody along that line is getting, a lot of people along that line are getting water in their basement that have never gotten water before. And I don't know what the cause of it is, I don't know. Especially down in the lower end of town, I don't know if we're just overloaded storm systems. The roof drains are backing up in the downtown area. I've had some reports where the roof drains are backing up and the water shooting across the basement in the buildings downtown. And our system is just loaded, so.
Have you went to the municipal authority?
That's.
Addressed anybody there yet?
I've tried to get information from them, but they said I can only go look at it. I can't actually get copies of it, so. With my work schedule, I haven't had the time to get down there during their working hours, so.
If you have any specifics, we'll make sure somebody gets to a meeting. If you can't get to a meeting, I'm not even sure what day they meet. Go offhand.
Tuesday.
First Tuesday?
Well, I mean, I wanted to see the actual documentation instead of, going to one of the meetings, they won't have that. I need to get down to the office and see that stuff.
Okay.
But I have, like with SRI's rain barrel program, that's going to help us because that'll alleviate some of the stormwater by taking it out of the spouting and into a rain barrel. So it's not, that first inch of rain isn't hitting our streets immediately. So it'll take some off. That'll be some help. I would like to see, bring to council in the next couple of months some other ideas on how to try to alleviate that stormwater load we have with some other ideas to keep the stormwater on site in the properties and have it like in the rain gardens or flower gardens or something like that, that it's not draining right into our stormwater system in the heavy events.
You clearly need to check with the municipal authority though, because they have had a separation plan in effect for the past 10 years, I believe, so I don't know if it runs into people's flower beds, I'm not sure how it is, but I know they've been
No,
taking them out of the sewer
everything
system.
we've done so far goes into the main line, but even downtown, the Fourth and Market intersection there, I'm not sure what, I think we need to really look at our whole system and maybe even scope it and see what's blocked or what's clogged.
You're talking long-term.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like that.
I think long-term, there will be a solution. What's happening right now, as you know, the municipal authority, because most of the combined status of the sewer system center during the storm, the city gave the authority to manage our stormwater system. As a matter of fact, our stormwater management plan reviews many years ago, this is old, 91, used to go through me. They now will go through the municipal authority to review. For long term, you may or may not know this, the Northumberland County Planning Commission, working for the commissioners, through their consultant, is developing a, I think it's Act 167 plan. And that will be that thick. And that will address rain gardens, detention areas, and
Yeah, but that won't fix what we have now, is what I'm saying.
well, it's tough.
Somewhere along the line, I think we have a blockage or something.
Right, the blockages and everything will have to be directed to the municipal authority for them to request them to review the situation and perhaps get a plan together.
Because I have concerns with that flow out in the flood wall, because I think that was caused by the stormwater pressure, the static pressure from the old stormwater drains is what it reads like for me from the Army Corps of Engineers. And I'm just concerned that no matter what we do to fix there, the pressure's coming internally from the city, and it could cause another blowout. I'm trying to figure out a way that we can resolve our internal stormwater system that is probably causing those problems out of the flood wall, not the river itself. It's some pressure from inside the city that's causing that. Yeah.
And but if you, in phase 2, when they replaced those sections of walls, the engineering firm took that into consideration. That's why the stone is behind those walls, and all those stones are actually, they can release the water pressure. The old style WPA wall, they actually grouted it in 1997, which sealed that up. And what you just said is actually right on cue there. When 2011, when it rained so hard, the water table got up that high, pressure blew the wall out. So now when we replace this section of the wall, they'll go back to the style which they've done 2 years ago, and that whole wall section will be able to take and release that water pressure and solve the problem.
But we'll be letting it back into it. How's it released?
Well, the flood wall's there.
I mean, is it going to let it back into those terracotta pipes into the stormwater system?
Well, all those terracotta pipes.
How far do they go into the city,
Well, supposedly they're all cut off. Okay, supposedly. Okay. So that wall goes down like 20 feet, I'm guessing, but it goes down pretty far there.
Because if that comes up and the water backs up into our stormwater drains, and that's one reason why our stormwater drains aren't really taking water. It's just ponding or flooding.
But according to the flood control people, all those lines have been severed because back in, let's say, the 30s and 40s and 50s, those lines went across.
Right.
But when they put the flood wall on, they were all cut off, sealed supposedly, and but the water table was, the pressure was that great in 2011 was what the blowouts were. So this new wall should take care of the problem.
John, these are good questions, but weren't all of the city's responsibilities on the flood wall and stormwater management assigned to the municipal authority?
They were.
So
I
probably
thought the WPA wall, though, was still ours.
I'm not sure about the WPA wall.
but all flood control
But
responsibilities.
all flood control facilities, solid waste, sewer, water, storm drainage, primarily because of the combined sewer overflows problem they had in compliance, they needed to comply with EPA and DEP. They had to take over that situation. We used to have 2 reviews on stormwater projects, competing reviews, I used to call them, you remember that. So right now, if we get a development to come in, a subdivision or a land development, then that would have gone through me originally, won't anymore, then it would have gone to the municipal authority. However, you might recall that the city passed a resolution and
The resolution was a cooperation agreement between the Northumberland County Conservation District and the city. And they have now the authority, if code enforcement officer gets a subdivision plan or something like that now, what happens is it goes to Northumberland County Conservation District along with the fee. If there are complaints that are separate from subdivision and land development, third-party complaints, that's also in that memorandum of understanding. And I think most recently, the example of that was in the Celotex site, where there was third-party complaints. And you may recall, I don't know, Mike, if you were here at the March meeting, but when Mr. Saxon had entered a discussion about his take on the problem, the mayor and I guess council with some consensus said, John, can you look into this? You recall that? I did look into that, and that was before Mr. Saxon finalized his report dated sometime in March after the meeting.
Yes.
And I called Northumberland County Conservation District, and I referred to the memorandum of understanding, and I said, are you investigating this alleged complaint, or not alleged complaint? And he said, yes, I am. I'm trying to set up a meeting. That's an example of how that works. Ultimately, it was inspected by Northumberland County Conservation District. In that situation, it was a prevent